Hey, everybody, welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. If you're popping in for a replay, say hi later. Let us know that you were here. And in between our impossible lives, I'd love for you to let us know one way we can help you in between our impossible lives. We're all here, so we're not the best kept secret. And one of the things I love is amazing guests like Elise joining us today. I also have to start out by thanking D Hope for introducing us and to Elise for mm, during our first conversation being really patient because I was calendar challenged that day and time challenged. And I popped it in Elise's like, I was about to leave. And I'm like, I am so sorry because I hate keeping people waiting. You're having virtual coffee or just getting to know each other. And Elise was just so gracious. We pulled out our calendars and we found out a good time to reconnect. And when we reconnected, I then realized, woo, there's a definite reason I met this wonderful woman on the day that I did. Every time we speak, there's a reason for it. So today, I'd encourage you to sit back, dial, and relax because I thought at first that our topic would be reflections, our spiritual energies. But with Elise, I'm never sure where our conversations are going. So as you're popping in and joining us, ah, remember to check out Amazing Elise because I never know where we'll go. So on that note, I'd love to welcome you and invite Elise to share a little bit more about herself.
Mm. Hi, and thank you, Melanie. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm so grateful you asked. I really am. I can't express. So a little bit about me. Okay, I'm a shamanic practitioner. I have been for many years. I also teach um, meditation, actually primordial sound meditation from the Chopra Center, excuse me, that I'm certified. And one thing that is really good, true to my heart as well, is spiritual life coaching. Um, I started to do spiritual life coaching because during my shamanic practice, I knew that people needed a little bit more than I can offer. So I believe with the three modalities together, it's a wonderful thing. So then I can take my clients from clearing them to supporting them in a spiritual practice, and that includes meditation. So it's just a wonderful thing. Um, it works well for most people. I have had clients for many, many years, and I've developed friendships at the same time because you get to know them so intimately. Um, yeah, and that's me. That's what I do. That's who I am, actually. I am a shaman. That's who I show up as. And that's really important to me, that people recognize that because it's not only what I do, it's the way I am in this world and the way I show up. And I do my best. I'm not perfect. I'm human, just like everybody else. But honestly, it's like I try my best to be the best version of Elise that can show up in any situation. So if there's anything that you would like to know about my practices, please feel free to ask. I see a few people. Hi, everybody that's joining. Thank you so much. Hi, Stephanie.
Stephanie is an amazing, amazing person
I'm
for you to
sure.
meet.
Oh, I
She's
can't
got
wait.
some of the most fabulous energy. I really have to thank her because way back when I didn't have a clue, and you're really looking for beyond direction, you're looking for some guidance. And Stephanie, happy Monday, and thanks just for amazing energy. And for those of you joining us, whether you're joining us on Facebook or you're joining us on LinkedIn or you're checking us out later on YouTube on a replay, one of the things that I love about having this conversation with Elise is I was a person who didn't always lean into sharing my energy. I wasn't sure how to, I needed to safeguard it, for example. I wasn't sure when I shared it what it felt like to other people. You're then dependent on their description of what they're feeling or experiencing and how they're defining you. And I really want to thank Elise because when we met, I was really struggling with something energetic wise. And Elise just shared an amazing workbook, which I'm going to have to check out on Amazon. But for those of you who know a little bit about the Mel journey and the energy journey, so I'm basically an introvert who's a trained ambivert. The energy can kind of flow and change. And great clients and collaborators help me understand that I'm in something called ascension. All it means is my energy's flowing and it's changing in ways that I can't necessarily describe. And I was delighted because meeting Elise, it was on a day when I really was struggling with something. And Elise just, without us knowing each other and without us having a common language of speaking, Elise is like, oh, this is your wounded, this is your wounded child issue. And I really appreciated it because she helped me understand for Mel with braids some of the challenges as we're encountering. We have all sorts of energy, and Elise just mentioned it, whether it's, sound healing, whether it's meditation, whether it's internal energy, whether it's external energy. It's really hard to describe. And in our really complex and fragile world, as I always call it, it can be really hard to to describe in a way so we even understand it. And I really appreciate that part of meeting Elise. It reminded me there's these things, they're beyond description.
Mhm.
And energy is one of those. It's fluid and it's constantly changing.
Mhm. Yeah. So when you're going through a healing process, like you're talking about, remember when you're healing, whenever you're healing, you're really healing the past. You're not healing today. You're healing what happened in the past. So, what I recognize talking about the inner child, and trust me, my inner child drove me for a long time, and she still comes out, and but I immediately can recognize it, and I can say, okay, take a breath. Okay, you got this, Elise. And you can sit there and you can comfort that child and say, I have this as an adult. It's all right. You don't have to react. You can learn to respond. Because when your inner child, I don't really remember the issue that you were having, quite frankly, but it manifests in so many different ways. So when that inner child just goes "Rear" and comes out, and ah, right? Um, you go like, oh, where'd that come from? Well, that's your inner child protecting itself for whatever reason, what happened years and years ago. That's how we learn to protect ourselves as children. And that's how we'll react. So if you ever find yourself reacting instead of responding or having bad behavior, because usually that's what happens is you have a little bit of a bad behavior, and that's okay because we're human. You just take a breath. Okay, at least the adult's driving now. I can do this, and you just console that inner child, play with that inner child, have a date with that inner child so she knows she's being seen or he's being seen and heard. And then you respond as the adult. And then, of course, when you have bad behavior, you take ownership of that and you say the necessary apologies, or if need be, you know, because it happens, and it still happens to me. And I've learned about this years ago. So it's a great practice to have.
Wow. Well, thanks. And thanks, Marcia and Ronnie and friends on Facebook for joining us. A bunch of you on
Yes.
Facebook are popping up as Facebook users. We'll give you a shout out later as soon as we know exactly who you are. Feel free to type your
Hmm.
name in chat so we can chat shout you out. What
Hmm.
I love about what Elise mentioned was I didn't realize that I was reacting to something at first. and having such a strong emotional reaction, which is always really challenging
Mm-hmm.
as professionals, as entrepreneurs, as adults in dealing with really complex situations. And I really appreciated it because you helped me learn a new lens to kind of process something through. And I didn't really understand the wounded child part
Mm-hmm.
until I then had a long overdue conversation with my dad about it.
Oh,
And he defined exactly what
oh,
Elise said. And I have to thank you for it because it's a gift. Pop
oh, you're
has
welcome.
vascular dementia. Any opportunity
Mm-hmm.
for, hi, Marie, how are you? Welcome, Marie VB, of any opportunity to have a conversation
Mm-hmm.
with somebody we love or who we don't necessarily have the time or the space to really mm, to really explore things with.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really, if Elise hadn't said what she said, I then was with my dad and I had a rare opportunity to
Right.
talk to him and listen to him through a lens where he described how he was dealing with his wounded child
Yes.
and how protecting his little girl with braids
Yes.
became a lifetime mission.
Yes.
I I think you're reminding us the stuff that we can't describe.
Yes.
It's either we're too busy not seeing it, feeling it,
Mhm.
moving at a different rapid pace. I love because just before we were starting, Elise mentions things we need to do to ground ourselves. Can you, for those just catching in and those who are saying they really need to hear this,
Okay.
can you help us learn new ways to kind of ground ourselves?
Sure. The easiest, and I think the easiest way to ground yourself is well, to go outside, sit down, just sit on the ground in the grass and just breathe. And you just breathe into the earth and you give, if you have troubles, I mean, I I lay flat on the ground. If I'm sad, I'll lay right on the mother and start breathing and I will. The mother's wonderful. She'll give you the energy you need to keep going and to take fear from you. And then you can release it back, you can release it to her and she takes it. And it's a wonderful exchange. Energy is flowing and it's always reciprocal. And the mother's wonderful. Hey, I hug trees. And depending on the severity of being grounded, you can dig a hole and sit in it. You can sit on a beach. You can go into the ocean. You can do simple things like that. Or if you love to garden, giving back to the earth is the most beautiful way of grounding and do it in a meditative state. Set your intention. Intention is everything. Set your intention that you want to ground out whatever it is, how you're feeling, or just be grounded and rooted into this earth. Go out, start planting and plant beautiful flowers or vegetables even, um, or even something that'll feed the little critters outside for the winter. Anything just to get your hands in the dirt. A lot of people call it earthing, and I'm sure that's probably a more recognizable type of thing. They have earthing, and then they stick their feet in the earth and then they're barefoot, and that does it too. These are the simplest ways that I can say right off the top of my head to ground.
Well, I really want to thank you because you're also hitting on some chords for our guest today. And thanks again, Andrea and Marcia and Queen
Ooh,
Shaquita's
yes.
in the house. But Andrea is
Hi.
saying, thanks for clarifying this for me. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. I walk out into nature
Mhm,
and I find peace,
mhm,
comfort, and happiness. And Marcia is saying also she started volunteering at a community garden and it's absolutely therapeutic.
mhm,
But I love what you're reminding us is and I love it too because you're speaking of different elements of energy And
Hmm.
we all have different ways to kind of describe who we are, who we believe in,
Hmm.
uh, people who support us in our faith walk.
Hmm.
And but I love what you're saying is to really kind of get in touch with our core from a different perspective. As the weather is changing,
Hmm.
if you can't sit outside in nature, are there other ways that we could start or explore a similar practice indoors, would you suggest?
Sure. My way of grounding that I say a lot with my clients, like it's a grounding, it's a protection type of way of if you believe in the mother's energy, and once you feel it and you recognize it, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, like the woman who says how therapeutic it is for her to go out and plant it, because it's true. And if you set your intention, and it's such a beautiful thing to do. But what I do is I stick my feet on the ground, and then I see, feel, imagine, and then I tend it to be so that I have roots just growing into the earth. And that's it's so you're rooted literally and grounded in, because this is our mother. This earth that we live in, this space, this time is what sustains us. It gives us life. It gives us water. It gives us medicines. It gives us food. It gives us shelter. We don't have to have all the stuff. The earth provides everything that we need. And that's it. Doesn't matter what faith you are. I serve all faiths. So for whatever faith journey you're going, I can always change my language to make you feel comfortable. But the getting back to the earth itself, the earth has everything that we need. And just think about it in a sense where the animals are living, and then they live through the seasons, and they get what they need through the seasons by instinct, right? They go by instinct. We as humans, we forget really how to be with the earth. And once you start to ground yourself, and once you start to really set your intention, hi Michelle, once you set your intention, then what happens is you remember, and you start listening, and you remember what is important. You remember that the tree has spirit, the ground has spirit. You can feel its energies. If you're ever sad, hug a tree. And everybody laughs, oh, they're tree huggers. Try it. It works. Trust me. I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. My beloved aunt died. And at the time I was living in Florida, and I drove up to Pennsylvania. She lived in Philadelphia. And I said to my husband, before we go home, I have to go to Fairmount Park. And he's like, why? I said, I have to ground this out. I had so much grief. And what I did was I said, just leave me be for about half hour, 45 minutes. And I just picked up sticks, collected sticks, and just sat with the trees. And I just grounded my grief out. And it made me feel so much better. Yes. Was I still grieving over my aunt? Absolutely. And I still grieve today. It's been, I don't know how many years, over 10. However, I know that that supports me when I'm grieving, when I'm sad, when I'm happy, you know, just get a tree, touch the earth, pick up some leaves. That's how we do it.
I love that. I love that because in her wonderful comment, she's talking about, I was asking different ways we could ground ourselves indoors and saying that you
Yeah.
paint
Yep.
to ground yourself, you
Yes.
know?
Yes, I do the same thing. That's wonderful, Michelle. I paint, I do crafts, but you do it with intention. And even if you can, even I don't know how, I can't paint. I'm not an artist. I wish I was, but I love to move color, and just with the intention of moving color, with the energy of what you're feeling, and you put that into the painting or whatever you're doing, sewing, whatever it is. Especially we're going to go through a winter time, so everybody's going to want to be indoors. That's a perfect way of doing it as well. Anything that brings you joy and you do with intention will ground you. Thank you, Michelle, for reminding me.
I love that too, because you're reminding us also that sometimes it's about the clarity part of the attention, being really deliberate about the
Mm-hmm.
practice. But also, I appreciate what you were saying before, because sometimes it is not having the words or
Right.
not having the language. I love what you said before about changing your language to fit the comfort level of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really rare, rare, wonderful gift.
Thank you.
It-
And I see somebody dances. Yes, ma'am. Or yes. I hope or sir. I'm sorry. It says Facebook
no,
user. I don't want to.
it's Queen Chi. It's Queen Chi, and you have to. I adore this wonderful woman who's on the other end, and a lot of her guests. But Queen Chi, we did a live on who is the queen of our empire,
Mhm.
and it we had so much fun energy going
Mhm.
that the video didn't cooperate that day. So Queen Chi is one of our Impossible Live great secrets.
Mm.
It's she'll become a podcast because really that's what I really appreciate it, because she helped remind me when there's a lot of energy around, sometimes
Mhm.
we can kind of short circuit what's happening. And
Sure.
the universe that day just wanted us to have a conversation and get out of our heads. And we did that.
Mhm.
But I'm loving too, because Ronnie's also saying yes. And that intention, and it
Yes.
brings us joy.
Yes, it does. And a lot of people don't know the difference between happiness and joy.
Mm,
That's another big one. I know we planned on talking about something totally different, but this is really important. I feel it is. Joy, it comes from the inside. It doesn't matter what's going on around us. You can be driving and then just get this overwhelming sense of joy. And you're just like, it's almost like feeling grace, right? You're like, oh, that's wonderful. And you're just giddy with joy. Happiness is my girlfriend Melanie and I are having this wonderful conversation and it's making me happy. And then, and then the conversation's over and after I'm all off that high, the happiness goes because everything ebbs and flows, right? But joy comes within. It doesn't matter what goes on around you. So if painting brings you joy, sometimes their children bring you joy, or even just hearing a child giggle can make me, it doesn't even have to be my child or anybody related to me. Just a child giggling sends me to the moon. It just brings me such joy and it comes from the inside. It's not an external thing. Like my girlfriend and I are going on a cruise. Yay, I'm so excited. I'm happy. Right? This is something that just comes from the inside. It's just joyful. It's a whole different experience. And I thank you for bringing that up because it's really important to know the difference between the two.
I love that, because you reminded me. And hey, Lachelle, how are you? Um,
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday for sure.
Yeah.
But you're really reminding. I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, and I'm teasing because my brother's asking me, "Are you still in vacation mode?" I said, "I sure am.
Hmm.
Let's see how long we can keep it." And next week's live will be a continuation of the vacation mode theme.
Yeah.
So come pop in next week for lazy river views. But I think one of the cool parts during vacation was an entertainer, Karen Williams, that I've had the pleasure of watching perform now for really almost 3 decades.
Hmm.
And she's an amazing comedian. And she's working on a doctorate. And her doctorate is in gerontology. And as part of it, she wanted to interview some of us and talk about humor and how it affects our life. And what I cracked up was Karen's interviewing me, and I'm delighted because we've never had a chance to have a private conversation. So I kind of feel like I'm with some royalty here,
Hmm.
and really relaxed. And I had started the day with like a healthy green drink. I didn't even really eat like a real breakfast. I think I felt like, I could eat afterwards. And what I loved was energetically, I was so in the right spot. And Karen asked me a question about joy. And I heard myself, I have to ask her for the recording later, but I heard myself define joy as something that I could hold on to,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to happiness, which sometimes feels like it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
That something can remind you of the joy, or I'm talking ahead, but next week will be lazy river views, and people will be, what in the world is Mel talking about?
Well, I
I'm
guess you have to,
talking
so next week, you have to come back next
Yeah.
week and find
But
out.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about the process of just helping ourselves relax to kind of
sure.
tune into whatever channel
Mm-hmm.
so we can identify it as joy. We spend so much time trying to label our emotions and figure out the exact process or structure of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, as Elise is saying, we're not necessarily talking about what we plan to, which means Elise is coming back so we can continue the discussion, and we'll figure out what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, and I love it, as you're laughing and as we're having a really comfortable conversation, I think that's something in our energies. We're not always comfortable with them changing. We're not always comfortable expressing them or sharing them. I mean, and I appreciate it. You create a really sacred space to have those conversations with your clients and in other groups that you facilitate. But for some of us, we're really focusing on the clearing part because it's getting a little crazy, a little hectic out there.
A little bit.
And, many people are working full time and they've got a part time business.
Mm-hmm.
Others are, Lachelle's a great example. She's got 15 children. There's a lot of energy. And yes, look at
Wow.
Elise's eyes. Elise's
God
eyes.
bless you. Bless.
And as that energy is really changing and you can't really describe it, how how can we, uh, in addition to grounding,
Mhm.
how can we get a handle on it to be able to share it with other people who are unable to see sometimes what's happening to us? Like they're wondering, hey, what's up? You know?
Mhm.
Um, Last week was a great example because I had never had a conversation with Karen Williams,
Mhm.
and I knew change what I was normally doing. So my energy was kind of in a really good Zen
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I think Karen's a Buddhist. I just felt so relaxed. It was like having a conversation was like having a really cool massage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just leaning in.
Right.
How do we get to that point where we're able to share that
Okay.
with the person on the other end who may not have the same language, they may not feel
Mhm.
grounded, but so people can know there's another like-minded, amazing spirit or energy that could support them in the room.
Okay. So for me, um, what I'm hearing you say is how can you speak to another person, right, and have them feel your energy or be or help you, you know, express yourself in a way that you would want them to see you, how you show up in the world, right? Well, one thing I want to say is nobody needs your energy. They can get their own. So don't allow them to hook into you. That's number one. If they don't have the energy, they need to learn how to get their own. That's very important. Secondly, is holding space. That term gets thrown around like it's anybody who starts their spiritual journey, they hear the term holding space and they almost use it as just like a catch-all phrase, right? But it actually means something. Yes, holding space, you can pray for someone, you know, that's great. It's wonderful. That's holding space for them. That's holding them sacred or that time sacred. But holding space truly is sitting without judgment and listening. And it's the without judgment part. So like you and I had when I we first met, you were running late and it was like you were like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's all good. It happens. Take a breath. We can do this again. It's all right. We're human. We make mistakes. Allow people to be human. Allow people to make mistakes. I'm not saying allow people to abuse you. right? But if they make mistakes, they make mistakes. We're all human. We all do it. So, but if you listen to your people, your clients, your guests, whomever, and you just listen without judgment, you'll feel and see who they truly are and how they show up in the world. And then this way you can be authentic with yourself because you're safe. Because they're not judging you and you're not judging them. And that's the important thing. Thank you. You're welcome, Ronnie. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, and you missed Queen Chi before because Queen Chi is like that's so
Oh,
good.
thanks, Queen Chi.
He,
I want to meet you, Queen Chi. I want to
you
meet you
will
all,
definitely
actually.
believe me. I'm about to introduce the two of you, and you'll laugh because the introduction has to come on LinkedIn. So for those of you who are joining us on Facebook at the moment, that is so not Elise's place to hang out.
Yeah, that's not.
So I'm gonna have to introduce you on LinkedIn or on Instagram,
Yeah.
and it is Queen. She is so behind this. She says she's loving Elise.
Oh,
So
thank you.
and that she would so enjoy meeting you. I think this is part of, and I really appreciate it because you reminded us all to save our energy. And I think sometimes, as part of the nurturing or helping others grow or work through what they're doing, and I appreciate you because you reminded me, you take me back to my conversation with my brother yesterday, who I'll finally see this week after not seeing him, our parents, for a couple of weeks. And you reminded me to save your energy. We are surrounded by people occasionally
Mm-hmm.
who either hijack it,
Mm-hmm.
claim it,
Mm-hmm.
reclaim it,
And they do it,
repurpose it.
and they do it. Some people do it intentionally, others do it unintentionally. If what I've found is that some people just don't know how to get their own energy. So for whatever reason, they've never learned. I mean, they can be your parent, your grandparent, or your friend, your best friend. They just don't know how to get their own energy. So therefore that they see you, they know you, they love you, and they hook onto you and say, hey, and then all of a sudden Mel's feeling, drained. Why? I'm around my loved ones. And that's because they not like, oh, Mel's here. Doosh. And she's got great energy. So I want to I want that. And they don't do it to be mean. They don't do it to be deceitful. They just don't know how to do it for themselves. And a lot of times people who are ill will do that as well. If they're ill, if they're really sick, that and we, because we love them, will say unconsciously, say, sure, just take it. I want you to be well, just take it. And we do it unconsciously as well. So we'll connect. And that's what courting is. And then you court to someone and then they take your energy. I mean, we can go down this whole road about that, but be clear and be protective of your core energy, because anyone in this world can get their own energy, hold their own energy, except for an infant child. An infant child needs the mother's energy until it can crawl around on the floor.
Mm,
So that's the only cord as a shaman. If I'm looking at your etheric body and I see the cording and I know you have an infant child, that will not be cut. Spirit will say, no, 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 no. That stays. But anybody else, except to the cord for me and the creator, everything else goes. I don't care who it is. I don't even have to name them. I don't even name them. There's no purpose for it because they don't belong there. The people who are on the other end of that cording can get their own. And if they don't know how to get their own, there are so many practitioners that can teach them how to get their own. But as going back to our first conversation about grounding, that's how you get your energy. You get your energy from the mother. Go to a depressed area and walk around, just a depressed area,
mm.
and walk around, and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm walking for blocks, right? Oh, this is just exhausting. Then you go to New York City or Philadelphia and there's a big event going on. There's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, and everybody's like, You can walk 10 miles and not even feel it. Well, why is that? One part is draining and the other part is giving. So we have to learn to take from the mother, and then be grateful and be reverent of her as well. That means
Mm.
taking care of her. And that's the energy exchange, because there's always an exchange when it comes to energy work. There's always an exchange. It's all reciprocal. So keep that in mind. The next time you go out and you take resources from the earth, remember, put something back.
Wow. I love I love what you're reminding us of, from whether it's thinking about energy in terms of cords and connections, and thinking about energy in terms of it being an exchange. There
Mm-hmm.
are times, sometimes, as you're saying, where we may have some, oh, and I love it because Shell's asking the question I was just
Mm-hmm.
about to ask. Thank you so
Okay.
much. How can you protect yourself from someone with bad energy or negative energy?
Repeat that again. I want to make sure I'm clear.
How can you protect yourself
Mm-hmm.
from someone with bad energy or negative energy?
Okay. So bad, negative is a judgment. Okay. So I try not to place judgment on energy. Just because it may not resonate with you,
Mm,
it may your spirit may not, it just doesn't resonate. It just doesn't feel good. It just doesn't, it's not, because we're not all going to love each other. That's just not going to ever happen. But we can love each other and respect each other in one way as humans, and see them as human. But sometimes people's energy is a bit much, off-putting, whatever the case may be. So how do you protect yourself? My thing is that, again, starting from the mother, bring up that energy. And I have if you'd like, if we have a few minutes, I can share a very quick um, protection thing that can protect you the minute you walk out the door on your daily life. Do we have a minute, Mel?
oh, we sure do.
Okay. So I know we're running out of time here. So I'm just going to be real quick. Spirit gave this to me a long time ago, and I'm going to give this nugget to you all for free. Okay? Because it was given to me by free will, so I'm going to give it to you from free will. And I tell this to all my clients. Take a seat, sit straight up. Sit straight up, stick your feet on the floor. Okay? Have your feet grounded on the floor and be comfortable. Lead with your hands up. You can have your hands both up, right? But I'm not, lay them on your hands, but have your palms facing up. Or if you want, you can have one up and one down. As long as the one down is not laying on your lap, it's pointed down towards the floor. And there's a reason for that. So what I want you to do is see, feel, imagine, intended to be so, that there's energy coming up from the mother through your feet. And bring it all the way up into your solar plexus, which is your third chakra, right in your belly area, right around your navel. And then what I want you to do is see, feel, imagine, intended to be so, that you're from the Father, God, source, above. You're pulling down energy from that space, higher self, and you're pulling it down and you're putting it into your solar plexus.
Mm,
Then I want you to mix the energy together. And when you're mixing the energy together, see, feel, imagine, intended to be so, you mix the energy together, you may feel this tightening or this tingle or this. I feel like I have six-pack abs. I've been doing it for so long. I guess that might be a wish, but whatever. It's the way it feels. So, okay, and it feels like a really strong and powerful. That is our power center. Then I want you to bring that energy all the way back up to your crown and out and surrounding your body. Okay? And then it surrounds your body like a bubble. And this really only takes a second or two when you get used to it. Okay. And you just surround yourself. And then I have a little bit of a secret sauce that spirit told me to do. Um, when you're in when you really need to be protected around people, especially like Christmas time's coming and everybody's like fighting over toys. You know how parents get crazy, like, oh my God, I'd have to have the last Cabbage Patch doll, when I was looking for my kids, right? So when all that energy and everybody's like all anxiety written and you're feeling that anxiety, just bring it in. So I want you to just do the bubble and I want you to take the nice big breath and then just use your hands and just bring it in, and you will feel it wrap you like a blanket. And you can just feel that energy wrap and it'll lock you in, and then you don't have to worry about it, and then you go about your day. But make sure when you're every day, every morning when you wake up, you do it. If you're going out knowing that you're going to be in big crowds, like going to a parade, I love going to the New Year's Day parade, for an example. You go to the parade, keep yourself locked in. This way, nothing, no energies, bad energies are going to affect you. They're not going to get into you, and you know it. And know that your higher self, God, source, Allah, whomever, is protecting you. And you know it. It's there.
Mm. I love that, especially great advice to help us stay connected, especially around the holidays and as we're increasing our
Oh, a
experience.
trauma bond. Yes. 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 Um, I agree. There could be trauma bonds there, absolutely, and also things from past lives. If you actually meet someone, do you ever meet somebody and say, oh, "It's like I know you, and I don't know why," and you intimately know them, or you instantly dislike them for no apparent reason? That sometimes comes in from a past life, from a trauma from a past life as well, and that's a whole other big story. But yes, and trauma bonds are very real. So sometimes something happens, and then something happens to the relationship, or you want to do something, and then boom, you allow them to take your energy or they take yours. And then if someone if someone just doesn't like you for whatever reason and they're very gossipy, they're a gossipy kind of person. Um, Gossip for me is a no-no, but it's wickedness. But if someone's gossiping about you, that can create one of those bonds that will take your energy as well.
Mm,
That's why you really need to protect yourself and keep yourself grounded and centered. Mhm,
I appreciate that because
mhm.
um, having conversations with others recently about people who are perceived as energy vampires, which is a whole nother conversation.
Oh yeah, that's included with the courting, and that's what I was saying. I was saying that we would call an energy vampire someone who doesn't know how to get their own energy and will hook into you. Now, it happens a lot when people are ill, like if they have like serious illnesses like cancer or dementia or something like that. They'll It's like their body soul will just attach to something and try to take your energy. And as loved ones, we allow it. It's all unconscious.
I find that interesting because with my dad, it's the opposite.
Hmm. Well, does your
He's
dad
he
have?
has he has dementia, vascular dementia, but he's got whatever his energy source is, his spiritual connection.
Mhm.
I think it's actually strengthening.
It does, because and I worked with people like that. It's really cool to work with people who have dementia or have any type of those types of issues, because their crown chakra, it kind of moves, and then they fade in and out. It's like I would watch my mother-in-law with traumatic brain injury. She had a bleed in her brain. She had an aneurysm, and she in her frontal lobe. And I noticed as she's got older and it it kind of took its toll on her. And I saw her literally phase in and phase out. It's almost like they're between this world and the spirit world, and they phase in and they phase out. It's really cool. And she used to get angry with me, um, because I knew what was happening and she was afraid. So when she was present, she was fearful. So she used to get angry with me because I knew. Everybody else she was fine with. But she would get angry with me because I knew what was happening. And she knew I knew because she was in the spirit world, right? She's going back and forth. And then, but herself was trying to stay grounded here, and they tether themselves here. And that's why the transition sometimes takes longer and it's drawn out and it's
Mm.
painful because our bodies here want to stay here. And that again is a whole nother conversation. Here we go. We'll put them
At
on the
least
list.
we're gonna have to continue these whole other conversations in our chats. So I'll make you a deal. If
What?
if you continue a chat on LinkedIn and
Mhm.
we start another chat on Instagram and we find a way to start a chat on YouTube, we'll be able to bring other people in to kind of feel Elisa's amazing, fabulous energy that she shares during every interaction.
Oh,
I'm just grateful for an opportunity to have a conversation with you about we've zigzagged everywhere. I knew we were going everywhere, and
yeah.
we're going to have this conversation again and soon because I think a lot of us really are trying to safeguard our energy,
Hmm.
and Elise is gently reminding us to kind of protect ourselves. I love what you were saying before, that when we feel energies that don't align with us, to try not to judge them
Hmm.
and accept that they don't resonate with us. I really
Right.
appreciate that. And I'm going to let you know next week if that one worked as I'm
Yeah.
traveling.
Just see the divine in them. Just focus on the divine in that person because everyone has the divine in them. So just focus on that and don't judge the actions necessarily.
Mm,
Okay.
that
And the
at
way,
least is a mic drop.
right? Because you think about it, their actions are caused by their trauma that they haven't dealt with.
Mm.
I mean, anybody that knows me, and I know Michelle's on here, she knows me. She knows, man. I can tear through something. When Sophia comes out, I named her Sophia, my inner child, my angry little teenage. I didn't name her. One of my spiritual sisters named her. But anyway, I have to shout out to Amy if she's out there. She named her Sophia because she saw it and she goes, "Oh no, her name is Sophia." You know. So so we call her Sophia when she comes out, and it comes out. It doesn't come out often, but when she does, oh, she does some damage in the week. And I clean it up, and then Elise cleans it up. So but it's okay. I'm human. I make mistakes, and I'm okay with it. But I want to thank you. And you know what? I love the fact that you say remind us of. You know why? Because we all know this. We all know everything that I'm saying. All of your guests are saying we all know these things. We're just remembering.
But you helped give us a visual in your practice of trying
Yes.
to help us protect ourselves.
Yes.
I had to stop and write it, even though I tried to visualize the words as you were saying them. When you said see, feel, and imagine.
Yes. And I have to give that to my teacher, one of my teachers, and that's Dr. Elanya Van Zant. She is the one who I went through her spiritual life coaching um a year program, and that's where I picked that up from. So I can't coin that as mine. It's Elanya Van Zant. She's an amazing, amazing
We
woman.
appreciate you sharing her with us, and we appreciate the resources you're sharing.
Hmm.
And I also really, Elise and I will figure out another day to do this. And if it's okay with Elise, try and figure out a date in about a month or so, so we can
Hmm.
kind of,
Because we got to get into that integrity piece that we were going to talk about. Remember?
yes, yes, it's a whole nother. So
Yes.
Elise and I will work on that. And
Hmm.
heads up about what that part was. Elise mentioned with great care that when we're around people who have access to our energy, access to our inner thoughts, that the discernment part, because Elise kind of alluded it a little bit before when she said about holding space.
Hmm.
There are terms that we'll hear a lot that will convey respect and care
Hmm.
and safety,
Hmm.
and others are using them kind of like playing cards. I
Hmm.
don't know another way to say that.
Yeah, it's a good way.
So
Hmm.
Elise and I will definitely, we're going to revisit it and we're going to
Yes.
check back in. And also Thanks everybody for being so engaged in the comments. Let us
Yes.
know too something that we mentioned that would be really helpful to have in an upcoming conversation so we can continue it. Elise is not looking on LinkedIn because you should see the hearts that are flying up.
Oh, I'm not looking yet. No,
So I really want to thank you for that. Yep, you'll have to check on the
yes,
replay.
I'm gonna have to go. Yes, I'm gonna have to go to LinkedIn. I mean, I do pop in. When Mel said it was going to be on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, LinkedIn, because to me it's so stuffy and boring. And she's like, no, there's a great community out there. I promise you. And I'm finding you. I'm finding you. I'm going to be a LinkedIn lover by the end of the day. I
So
promise.
now the hearts went to green hands celebrating.
Oh,
So
okay. Is that a
so
good
you
thing?
come, as I said before to Elise,
Uh-huh.
come hang out
Yeah.
in, we're
Mhm.
not holding space for you. We're inviting you into a sacred space. How about
Yes,
that?
yes. Invite you in a sacred space, and you can get me at elisedamico.com. I do offer 15-minute free consultations, but my 15 minutes, because I love to share, usually turn into a half hour or an hour. Sometimes I know I'm bad, but I give free consultations on Mondays. So if you would like to work further with me, whether it be shamanic healing, spiritual life coaching, or learning primordial sound meditation. So anything that you need, or all the above. So it was
That
wonderful
sounds
to be here.
that sounds fabulous.
Okay, great.
All right, be
I'm looking
well,
forward.
and thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
and
you.
have a magnificent day filled with opportunities and possibilities.
Yes, peace and
Stay
blessings to
safe, stay
everyone.
well,
Hmm.
stay inspired, and stay in touch. And
Yes,
take great care. We're looking forward to seeing you again.
I'm looking forward to you again. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you so much. Be well, be
You
safe.
will.